are you wanting to speak on an agenda item tonight? Yeah. Okay, what agenda item? For Cafe Zack's, okay? There are 7, but Cafe Zack's alcohol use permit is number 3. And what's your name? You just wanted to make public comment. Okay. Can I have you fill out a speaker card and then turn that in when you come to the dais? There you go. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, are we ready to start?
We are ready.
Okay, we'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the director's hearing of May 26, 2022. I'm Peter Gilley. I'm the hearing officer and the community development director. The first item on the agenda is public communications. This is the time set aside during the hearing for members of the public to address the hearing officer on a planning-related item other than what is on the agenda. So if you want to speak about something that is not on the agenda, this would be the time. Do you have any speakers?
We have no speakers wishing to speak on items not on the agenda.
Okay, we will move on. The first agenda item number 1 is the approval of the meeting minutes for April 28th, 2022. I reviewed the minutes. We do need to make one edit. The document itself says it's the meeting minutes of April 14th, so we should change that to the 28th, but that's the only change I see that is needed. Are there any speakers on this item?
There are not.
Great, so I will approve the minutes with that one edit. We'll now move on to the formal hearing items. For each item, I will ask staff to make a presentation, and then it will be turned over to the applicant if they have anything they want to add. And then we will open the public hearing if there are any members of the public that wish to speak on each item. So the first item is project 14765. Can I get a staff presentation, please?
Good evening. Agenda item 2 for today is for project 14765, which is the request for alcohol use permit for an existing restaurant with a patio located at 2009 East Thompson Boulevard. Next slide, please. The subject property is used by Prime Steakhouse, which is an existing restaurant in operation since 2007 that already has a Type 47 alcohol license. Prime Steakhouse is requesting an AUP for Type 47 license as an expansion to the existing license to allow service on the proposed patio addition from hours 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. The surrounding uses include commercial and dining establishment on East Thompson Boulevard and residential neighborhood consisting of single-family and multi-family properties along the north side of the project. Next slide, please. Recently, a minor design review for patio addition, landscape, and parking changes was approved by Planning Division. As part of the review process, Ventura Police Department has investigated the alcohol use type and location of the applicant premises and found that there is no indication that the proposed alcohol beverage establishment will significantly add to the crime rate of the area or contribute to the disproportionate number of police service calls. The proposed alcohol beverage establishment, as conditioned, would be compatible with the existing uses within the area. Next slide, please. Therefore, the staff recommends that the hearing officer approves the AUP as conditioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Would they like to speak?
The applicant is not present unless they are here. There she is.
I mean, I think Falix said everything about the project. We're just excited for it, so we're excited to get approval for this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any members of the public who have on this one?
There are no members of the public wishing to speak on this item. Oh,
Do you wish to speak on agenda item number 2?
I want to make sure I'm in the right place.
Okay.
This is regarding project 15390.
number 4?
Yes, so that's agenda item number 4. If you want to speak, if you could fill out a public speaker card for agenda item number 4.
Thank you.
But seeing as there's no one to speak for agenda item number 2, we'll close the public hearing, approve the project as recommended by staff, and that's all you need. Moving on to agenda item number 3, project 15298. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Item number 3 on the agenda is an alcohol use permit for Cafe Zac. The subject site is located at 1095 East Thompson Boulevard in the T4.4 zone of the downtown specific plan area, which is occupied by Cafe Zac, a restaurant that has been in operation since 1990. The restaurant is a 1,000 square foot restaurant with a patio at the northwest corner of Thompson Boulevard and South Ann Street. Cafe Zac is requesting an alcohol use permit for a Type 47 license to authorize the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for the hours of 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily during the restaurant hours. Any modifications to the establishment are not part of the permit, as this is only the alcohol use permit, and those would be processed separately. The Ventura Police Department reviewed the alcohol use permit and found that the business, license, hours, and the location would not significantly add disruptions or crime to the area or contribute to additional service calls. The business is subject to operational standards and the conditions of approval. Therefore, staff recommends approving the alcohol use permit.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present? And if you don't have anything that you want to add, that's fine. Okay. Any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Yes, we do. Daniel Mooney.
Good evening. I've been in the restaurant industry for 50 years. I moved to Ventura 22 years ago. And at that time, Mr. Gomez was just getting started with a new family, and he had this dream to build this great restaurant, okay? I've had the opportunity to work with him during the pandemic. He was supplying over 100 lunches a day during the week for people in need. The restaurant attracts a wonderful type of personnel. If you know anything about the restaurant business, it's wonderful, but it's brutal. It's extremely difficult business. I think one of Hector's biggest successes is the fact that it's a family-run business. And with that, you have devotion, you know, and stick-to-itiveness. I live across the street from the restaurant. His car is there every day. That's what the restaurant business is. It's only 8 days a week, you know, and you're really, Hector has done a phenomenal job. And I feel that the request for the alcohol use permit is a no-brainer. It's a good neighborhood. I lived in the neighborhood there for 10 years. And everybody that meets Hector and does any kind of dealing, just call him up sometime and make a reservation. He's the most personable guy and friendly, and he's just a professional. And with the addition of the patio outside, it's just lovely to be out there during the summertime or any time. So at any rate, I think it's a great idea, and I'm looking forward to having a cocktail once in a while over at his restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers on this item?
No, that concludes our speakers for this item.
Okay, close the public hearing and make this fast. Approve the permit as conditioned, and that concludes this item. Don't need to add anything. Next agenda number 4. This is project 153990. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you, Director Gilly, and good evening. The next item on tonight's agenda is Project 15390, a request for an administrative coastal development permit for the addition of a strain press platform. Next slide, please. The project site is located at the City of Ventura's Water Reclamation Facility. The Ventura Water Reclamation Facility is a tertiary treatment plant located in the Ventura Harbor area near the mouth of the Santa Clara River. The facility provides treatment services to approximately 98% of city residences and treats 8 to 9 million gallons of wastewater per day. Specifically, the proposed project will be located adjacent to the dissolved air flotation building at the treatment facility. Next slide, please. The proposed project is for the addition of a 321 square foot steel platform for a strain press. The steel platform is approximately 27 feet in length, 11 feet in width, 8 feet in height, with a 3-foot guardrail. The City of Ventura Public Works Department is proposing to add the steel platform and strain press to aid in the handling of wastewater solids at the facility to help remove inorganic debris that otherwise flows through the treatment plant. No additional treatment capacity will be added by the addition of the proposed project, but wastewater treatment efficiency will increase. Next slide, please. Overall, the proposed project would be compatible with the existing use and characteristics of the surrounding vicinity and would not adversely impact the existing buildings or uses. Staff recommends the director approve the administrative coastal development permit as conditioned. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present?
The project engineer, Alec Roberts, is present if you have questions for him.
If I have questions, okay. Any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Yes.
Okay, exactly where is this going to be? This near the bird sanctuary? Is that where it is?
This is, a public hearing is where you can make statements. It's not really a question and answer. So if we could show the map again, yeah, change it back. So it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is within the area that is already has all the facilities.
Okay, I have questions, but we're not supposed to ask questions. All right, at what point will I be able to ask questions?
So we do have our project engineer in the Public Works Department who can answer detailed questions about the project. For the purposes of this hearing, if you have concerns about the project, of what it might do, you can state them, and those can be factored into the decision.
Okay. My question has to do with traffic, flow of traffic. There is Portside over there, and there's also a senior park. And I was just concerned if this is going to be affecting traffic. And there's Ventura Harbor, of course. No, that was pretty much it.
Okay. So I would like to ask the project engineer if he could comment on whether this facility will have any increases in traffic.
Yeah, hi everyone. This new facility, this project is going to be located within the closed gates of the wastewater treatment plant. So, and there'll be no additional staff required to operate it. So this won't impact traffic in any way. It'll be behind the closed gate within the treatment plant as it is. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. Okay. All right, I just wasn't sure exactly where it was, but all right, that's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Any other public comment on this item?
No, there's no other public comment on this item.
Okay, seeing that, we'll close the public hearing, and seeing as there were no concerns raised, and this is a very small item, 321 square feet. Really, the only reason it's here is because it's in the coastal zone. If it were outside the coastal zone, this would not have needed a hearing at all. So I'm going to approve the administrative coastal development permit as conditioned. Moving on to agenda item number 5. This is project 15456. Could I get a staff presentation, please?
Thank you, Director Gilly. The next item on tonight's agenda is Project 15456, a request for a use permit to continue operations of a COVID-19 testing site. Next slide, please. The project site is located on the surface parking lot at the Pacific View Mall, located at 3301 East Main Street between Target and 24 Hour Fitness. Adjacent properties to the north, south, and east contain commercial properties. Adjacent properties to the west contain single-family residences. Next slide, please. A director's permit was previously approved for the applicant, COVID Clinic, to allow the use of temporary mobile offices for a drive-through COVID-19 testing site. Pursuant to Municipal Code Section 24.450.030, the applicant is requesting a use permit to extend the use of the temporary mobile offices until December 31st, 2022. The drive-through testing site is accessed from the north on Telegraph Road. A traffic manager will be present at the site directing the flow of traffic for testing patients. The testing clinic will provide rapid COVID-19 tests to the general public between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. The tests will be administered on an appointment basis with walk-ins subject to availability. A maximum of 6 employees will support the business on-site at any one time depending on the demand for testing. No additional structural, architectural, or other permanent modifications to the existing premise are proposed. Next slide, please. Staff has reviewed the proposed use and has found the use would be appropriately conditioned in order to minimize impacts upon the general public and adjacent uses, and has found that the project as conditioned would be consistent with the required findings for use permits. Thus, staff recommends that the director approve the use permit as conditioned. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present?
The applicant is present if you have questions.
Okay. Any speakers on this item?
No, there are no speakers on this item.
Okay. I don't have any questions of the applicant, so I'm going to close the public hearing. I think as a community, having a testing site is a good thing, so appreciate them staying on the site and having this service for the community. Approve the use permit as conditioned. Moving on now to agenda item number 6, project 15336. Staff presentation, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Next slide, please. This project is a request for a tentative parcel map and an administrative coastal development permit to create 2 single-family residential lots on a 14,186 square foot vacant property located on the north side of Ocean Avenue, 120 feet west of Santa Cruz Street. Next slide. The lot is approximately 175 deep by 81 feet wide. It's relatively flat and covered by non-native grasses. Currently, there is no formal access to the site. The property has frontage along Ocean Avenue. The existing site is surrounded by an entertainment venue to the north, single-family residential to the east and south, and multifamily to the west. Next slide. The requested tentative parcel map will create 2 single-family residential parcels from 1 existing property. Both parcels are rectangular in shape, with parcel 2 designed as a flag lot because it also includes a 20-foot wide access strip to Ocean Avenue, providing the necessary legal access to the parcel. The proposed lots will accommodate single-family residents that conform to the single-family residential R16 zoning standards. Next slide. Parcel 1 is proposed to be located in front of Parcel 2. Both lots meet the minimum lot size and lot width requirements for the R16 zone. Next slide. Staff has reviewed the proposed use in the context of the findings contained in the staff report and resolution, and have found that it would be appropriately conditioned in order to minimize impacts upon the general public and adjacent uses, and found that the project as conditioned would be consistent with the findings as specified in the resolution. Next slide. The project also falls within the non-appealable area of the coastal zone, requiring an administrative coastal development permit in addition to the tentative parcel map. The proposed subdivision is consistent with coastal policies because it will allow development compatible with the established scale and character of the neighborhood and will not significantly obstruct public views of the coastline, public road, or public recreation area. Next slide. Staff is recommending to approve the tentative parcel map and administrative coastal development permit as conditioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present?
The applicant is not present, and I have no members of the public wishing to speak on this item.
Okay. To staff, did we receive any type of written comments from any of the neighbors?
No written comments. I received a phone call early on in the process with the courtesy noticing, but nothing as a result of the public hearing noticing.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public hearing, seeing as there's no member of the public raising a concern, as well as the fact that this is a relatively standard subdivision, approving the parcel map and the administrative coastal development permit as conditioned. Moving on to the last agenda item, number 7, project 15367. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you. Item number 7 on the agenda is a design review permit for the REMAX project. The project site is located in the Victoria Avenue Corridor Plan and Development Code on the west side of Victoria Avenue, just south of the Santa Paula 126 freeway and north of Telephone. The government center is directly across from the subject site. The site sits approximately 10 to 14 feet below the Victoria Avenue right-of-way with a retaining wall in the parking lot. Vehicle access to the site is through the property and a shared driveway of the adjoining lots from County Square Drive located west, seen in the yellow arrow on the image here. The subject site was previously a restaurant and has been vacant now for about 10 years. This is a Google Street image of the building from 2021. The existing surrounding area consists of office buildings constructed in the 1980s, and further down on Victoria Avenue are some of the major shopping centers in the city, such as the Walmart Shopping Center and the Ralph Shopping Center. Here are some images of the immediate existing developments around the site, including the office buildings and the government center. The proposed project consists of a remodel and an addition to an existing two-story commercial building and other site improvements. The existing building is 8,800 square feet, and the project proposes an additional 5,000 square feet. The project generally maintains the footprint of the existing structure, in which it sits in the center of the parcel where the parking circulates around the building. There will be this existing surface parking spaces with landscape around the perimeter of the site and the building. In addition, the proposal, there is a design review variance associated with a deviation from the overlay, which I'll discuss in a later slide. On April 21st, 2022, the Design Review Committee supported the design, which incorporates the reuse of this existing commercial building, which establishes more of a modern design with bold roof lines, materials, form, and massing. The change in the architecture still maintains a cohesiveness to the surrounding area while remaining consistent with the Victoria Corridor design guidelines. The DRC recommended the director approve it with no modifications. The proposed project meets the Victoria Corridor Code standards identified in the T4.8 zoning district, the commercial block building type, and the grand lobby frontage type. However, within the zoning standards, there are overlay standards which the project does not meet. The parkway overlay requires a minimum 8-foot wide walkway as an extension to the existing 9-foot wide sidewalk. Of that 8 feet, 6 feet should have no obstructions for pedestrian access, and the remaining 2 feet would be additional landscaping. As mentioned in the previous slide, the finished grade of the site is significantly lower than the road and the sidewalk right-of-way. The intent of the overlay is to provide pedestrian walkway, safety, and as an extension to allow for walking and expanded uses of businesses that would otherwise be along the street. However, due to the topography of the site, applying the overlay standards to this site would not result in an improved pedestrian or business experience. As part of the design review permit, the Victoria Code allows for a design review variance request to be processed for deviations not consistent with the specific provisions of the code that are otherwise not related to things like lot dimensions, building type standards, building placement, or parking requirements, which otherwise would require warrants or exceptions. So this design review variance is for other design deviations, and the proposed project displays unique grade characteristics that would warrant the deviation and the design review variance. This variance would not impact the use of the site or the development, and staff would support the deviation. To summarize, the project will maintain a pattern consistent with its surroundings and retain the scale of the area. Although the design is modern and there is a deviation from the overlay, it's consistent with the design guidelines and the code, the Victoria Code. Therefore, the recommendation is that the director approve the design review as conditioned.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present or on the on WebEx?
The applicant is present on WebEx to answer questions if needed.
Just to answer
And we
questions.
have no members of the public wishing to speak on this item.
Okay. I have one question of staff. The parkway overlay basically is looking for a 17-foot sidewalk. Does the plan seem to expect or imply that there's a building at the edge of the sidewalk as opposed to a 14-foot drop?
That's correct. The intent of the overlay is that the sidewalk would extend into the building frontages.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to Seeing as there's no members of the public who wish to speak on this item, I'm going to close the public hearing. I am going to approve the design review as conditioned, because I do believe that, I mean, if this were a site that didn't have the grading, and thus we would actually want the building up at the street, up at the sidewalk, then the wider sidewalk is extremely useful. In this case, because of the grade, putting the sidewalk in would just make that retaining wall inside the parking lot, I'm looking at the view in the staff report, to be like 14 feet tall and a big drop off from the edge of the sidewalk. So I think for safety reasons, as well as just not seeming applicable to this site, I think the design variance is appropriate. So approving the project as conditioned. And that concludes that item. We now go to staff communication.
We have no staff communication at this time.
Okay, so as of 6:28, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.